My, oh my, the NHL playoffs and the drama, the heartbreak, and everything in between has shown its true colors this weekend. Justin Pooni, Steven Psihogios is back. Stevie, it's been a week since we talked last, and there's been so much that's gone on. The Canucks have used 3 goalies. The Leafs have seemingly died. The Bruins are seemingly world beaters. The Lightning were down 3-0, but have a chance. The Capital season is over. The Oilers, Stuart Skinner showed up. The Jets, a team that we thought was going to be world beaters against Colorado, well, maybe they're potential frauds and all of that. But let's dive into it, Stevie. Let's start off with the big elephant in the room, the biggest one of them all. Your Boston Bruins come to Toronto after Austin Matthews put the Leafs on his shoulders in game 2, came up with a great goal. Randy Moss catches the puck, puts it down, nice move on Allmark, scores. Leafs head back home 1-1, and the Boston Bruins showed up and swept both games. Now, let's talk about game 4 on Saturday, where many are saying it was the worst performance of the modern era for the Toronto Maple Leafs. You saw William Nylander snip at Mitch Marner. You saw Austin Matthews get at Mitch Marner. You saw just a lack of effort, but then Sheldon Keefe said there was effort. Stevie, was that the worst performance? Or sorry, was that rock bottom for this iteration of the Toronto Maple Leafs? Or is there still a chance for them to, at least make this somewhat of a series?
No, you know what? It proved to me on Saturday that there is no dog on the Toronto Maple Leafs. There is zero zilch. The dog levels are negative on the Toronto Maple Leafs. This is the biggest game of the year. The crowd was actually into it for Toronto standards.
Mhm.
That was actually a pretty loud Maple Leafs crowd. They were going crazy, expecting something from their team. Anything. And they got nothing. They got zilch. They got nada. I'm not surprised. I'm really not surprised. This is a team that has made a living off of coming short in the biggest moments. They've just seemed to come up short every single time there's a chance to prove themselves. And all right, the Toronto tummy aches. I know we want to say, Matthews wasn't feeling well and it was Nylander's first game back, but Nylander played over 22 minutes. I think whatever was bothering him is in the past. Matthews doesn't show up for the third period. Who knows the extent of what's going on there? But it's a problem that extends far beyond just this playoff series. He has 1 goal in his last 9 playoff games.
Yeah.
When the going gets tough for the Toronto Maple Leafs, they have showed time and time again that they're not willing to match that intensity. Yeah, in the regular season, you could skate through the blue line and do whatever you want in the offensive zone because defensemen are playing with their sticks out like that. They're hardly checking you. Boston's clogging up the blue line, leaving Toronto no choice but to dump it in, and they half-heartedly forechecked the entire series. And look, you want to talk about the tough parts of the game. How about the penalty kill? Killing penalties is a tough part of hockey, and they can't do that either. So you add it all up. You got guys who continually fail to show up in big games. You got a team that clearly can't play its regular season style of hockey in the playoffs. They're shooting from the perimeter all game long, not driving the net even a little bit. And then you put it together with the poor penalty kill. What do you want to say? These guys just don't have what it takes to win in the playoffs. It's plain and simple. We've seen it too many times now.
It's funny, you mentioned the Bruins power play, which is at 46%. That's third best in the NHL right now, behind Vegas and Edmonton. But you hit the nail exactly on the head there, Stevie. When you look at this Toronto Maple Leafs roster, you look at its construction. Austin Matthews, again, he wasn't at practice again today with his illness. Um, but if you're, in my belief is if you're out there on the ice, you're good enough to play. And he just didn't play good. Mitch Marner, once again, was a non-factor. Yes, he scored a nice goal, but outside of that, we don't notice Mitch Marner out there. We notice him throwing a temper tantrum like a 10-year-old little kid that you do in Pee Wee hockey right there, which is not passion. It's not desire. It's just a spoiled, entitled guy who's got his ego stroked by his own, his father and everybody telling him he's the best in the world and be given everything he's ever been given by the Toronto Maple Leafs, and it's not going his way. Nylander comes back, played 22 minutes. Again, not a very big factor. Morgan Rielly stinks. Let's call it is what it is. Morgan Rielly is not a number 1 defenseman. He stinks. Joel Edmondson, again, not really doing much. Labushkin, don't really notice him. TJ Brody, Nothing. Again, that defense core is bad. It's bad. John Tavares, what is $11 million, the captain of the team? Nothing. Spits out the same tired cliche. This team has no desire or wanting to elevate their game. You're looking at a team in Boston right now who is way less talented than the Toronto Maple Leafs, but they know how to play playoff hockey. You see Brad Marchand, those games in Toronto, right? He had 2 good games in Boston, but when the series came to Toronto, what happened, Stevie? He elevated his game to the next level. He took his game
Yeah.
a level up.
Yeah, and to me, I look at this Leafs team and where's the leadership? Seriously, where's the leadership? You've got the bench seemingly imploding in that second period, and you got Marner, whining and just complaining and just throwing a big hissy fit on the bench. You've got Nylander, okay, telling him to smarten up a little bit, but he's missed the first 3 games of this series, just kind of coming back. He doesn't strike me as the next guy to wear the C. And that's where you got to look. You got to look at the guy wearing the C, John Tavares. What is he doing in these situations? What is he doing to elevate his game? I think the issue with this Maple Leafs team is you got a lot of big egos, and it comes back to why I think the power play has struggled so much. Why hasn't Keefe moved any of these guys off of the top power play unit? It's because he knows that if he does, one of these guys is going to get their feelings hurt. If he takes one of those big guys off the power play, they're going to get a little upset. So he can't do it. So we always want to blame the coaches here in Toronto. The Leafs it's always the coaching. But eventually you got to put it on the players. And to me, they all deserve a ton of blame for all of their shortcomings. It's been how many years now? It's been 8 years of this group failing over and over and over again. Like, seriously, we've got to start pointing the fingers at all 4 of these guys. And I don't want to hear that any of them are above it. Matthews, okay, being sick. I heard the same thing when they played the Bruins in the regular season, why he wasn't performing. He was sick. Hey, he's sick now. What happened last year in Florida? What's happened in all these game 7s when he continually disappoints? Come on, enough with giving these guys a free pass. You got it or you don't. And I've seen enough of this Maple Leafs team to know they don't got it when it comes to the playoffs.
Absolutely, Stevie. When you look at this team, and again, you know me, I have a certain team that I have held my allegiance to, the Vancouver Canucks. But watching every single Leafs game this year, we talked about it countless times, you and I, this year. Whenever the test or the measuring stick game came up, more often than not, they failed, right? Those games in Boston at the end of the season, the game against Vegas, yes, they had a very good win against Colorado. They almost, blew it against Edmonton that one Saturday night. Same with Florida, but we never saw a signature moment in the regular season where that's the Toronto Maple Leafs we expect to see in the playoffs. Say what you will about Samsonov. Again, I don't think they go to him in Game 5. It's not on him, right? He's
far down the list.
He's far down the list. What I think is, if I'm the Toronto Maple Leafs, if I'm Keith Pelly, I think this is clear as day. Even if they win Game 5 and they win games, if they lose this series, which right now it looks more likely than not they're going to lose this series, you have to clean absolute house. Remove everything you possibly can. That means Brendan Shanahan is gone. I don't think Brad Treliving's going to go anywhere because he just got here, but that means Sheldon Keefe is gone. And Mitch Marner has to go. He has to go, Stevie. I want to hone in more on Marner because, again, he's beginning a lot of the brunt of the blame, and he does deserve it. But he's making $11 million a year, right? He's making all this money. He's going to want to get a bigger contract this offseason. And quite frankly, he no-shows all the time in the playoffs, right? He no-shows. He's snippy with the media. He has a poor attitude. And I just think cut your lots, cut your bait with him, and force him out. I know he's got a no-move clause, but you can make it very difficult for Mitch Marner to ever come back as a Toronto Maple Leaf. And quite frankly, at this point now for Mitch Marner, do you really want to be here anymore? Because the fan base has turned on you. The media doesn't like you, right? What's the point of staying here?
Yeah, I honestly, I think it's gotten to the point with Marner where the hate on him is overplayed. I really do think we have to start looking at Matthews. I'm not saying to move him, but to be more critical on this guy. Like I said, okay, you want to cut him a pass because he's sick, but 1 goal in his last 9 playoff games extends beyond just this postseason. This has been a long-running issue for Auston Matthews, that all of a sudden, when push comes to shove and teams defend you a little tighter, And they got dedicated guys on you because you game plan differently for a playoff game than you do game 37 of the regular season. He doesn't step up. He gets paid $15 million. He should be the best player on the ice, not Brad Marchand. There's in no world, when you look at the salary cap, should Brad Marchand be the best player on the ice. But he has been by a mile. It's not even close. It's not even close. And not only to not score for Matthews, but he's only got a point in one game of this series. To me, that is a major problem.
And here's the scary thing for me, Steve, for the Toronto Maple Leafs, is I expect we still haven't had a signature David Pastrnak moment this series yet, right? And I think Jeremy Swayman has been, as advertised, he has been absolutely stellar, so calm in net. But I'm worried that in game 5, David Pastrnak wakes up and it's curtains. Because right now it doesn't look. Let's talk about game 5. Swayman probably most likely gets the start, right? I think Pastrnak finally wakes up and really has a signature moment this series. If there is no Austin Matthews, is that officially just kill any chances of the Leafs making a comeback and sending this back to Toronto for a game 6?
They're going to throw a hard punch. I expect Toronto. You saw the way they came out in that third period.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, this team, we've seen it time and time again, when it's usually too late, they really do turn it on. So I expect the Leafs to throw a hard punch in game 5. Will it be enough? I don't know. We'll see. Do they want to get dirty? Do they want to get their hands dirty? Can they kill a penalty? These are all things like they had 2 days off already in this series to fix mistakes that were plaguing them, and they didn't do any of it. The power play came out, looked flat. The penalty kill again didn't look good. And where I think the Maple Leafs really struggle on that power play is, okay, you got a lot of guys who get paid a lot of money, but you don't really have a lot of shooting options. You look at the Oilers, take their power play, which is killing it right now. You've got Draisaitl, always a threat on the one time. How many times have we seen that cross seam McDavid to Draisaitl? You have McDavid, who you have to respect. If you don't respect that guy, he's going to kill you. He scored 65 goals last year, right? This is a guy who can put the puck in the net. But then you have Bouchard at the point, who can rip it. He can absolutely fire that thing. The Maple Leafs, it's Matthews. That's it. They only have really one guy who's a threat to put the puck in the net, because Marner's not a prolific shooter. Nylander's not a bad shooter, but you don't have that big shot at the point, which I think is where the Maple Leafs really get dinged, is that Riley shot really, you can't compare it to Bouchard's. It's on two different fields. So I think the Maple Leafs, again, they've already had 2 days off in this series to make adjustments. They didn't. To expect them to do it again, I just think the effort might be a little higher and the desperation might be setting in a little bit more. But again, I'm not going to pencil them in as the winner of game 5. It's going to be a close game. It's going to be a tight game. I'll take the under again, but I couldn't tell you if it's going to be enough, especially when especially when Swayman's playing the way he is.
Look, when it comes to game 5, I do agree that I think the Leafs will put up a good punch, but I just feel after what happened in game 4 at home and just all the smoke and fire and, distractions in the media that came out after that game, I don't know if they're defeated, if they feel defeated, but it would not surprise me whatsoever if they know that we're done, right? I see a lot of people mentioning last year when Boston came back, choked a 3-1 lead to Florida. Different teams, way different teams. This Toronto Maple Leafs team has a chance and an opportunity to, shock everybody and kind of show them that they do have a bit of a spine. But the fact that the fan base and kind of everybody's already written them off kind of shows you that everybody doesn't have any faith in this team. Do I think they'll come out and put forth a good performance? Yes, they're professional athletes and they'll come forward and put forth a strong effort to kind of, save their season. But I just think there's too many issues here, Stevie, and that Boston crowd is going to be jacked up and they're going to want to finish them off. So that's going to be interesting. But let's switch gears to another Canadian team, a team that has shown a lot of heart, passion, and resolve, the Vancouver Canucks. 3 wins this series, 3 different goalies. Thatcher Demko was just nominated as a Vezina Trophy finalist today. He gets hurt in game 1, can't go in game 2. In comes Casey DeSmith. He doesn't look good. They lose. Then they go head to Nashville. The sky is falling. Oh, my God. Is it going to come back down 3-1? Season is over. Oh, it was a nice run. But no, 12 shots for the Vancouver Canucks. A win on Friday night. Casey DeSmith stands on his head. And then hours before game 4 yesterday, what happens? Casey DeSmith is out with injury, and in steps Artur Shivlov. What
Barry
happens?
Colt legend.
Canucks?
Barry Colt legend.
Yes, Barry Colt. Canucks score the opening goal. Okay. Then they're down 3-1. They had a 0.4% chance to win the game. They had 4 shots in the third period when they pulled their goalie. Brock Besser scores. Okay, nice. There's about 3 minutes left. Brock Besser scores in the final 10 seconds. Holy cow, Stevie. They come back. And then Elias Lindholm, the guy that was acquired and then tried to get traded out to Boston, right, for Jake Gensel in a 3-way deal, comes up with the overtime winner. The Canucks head back 3-1 up against the Nashville Predators for Game 5 in Vancouver on Tuesday night. Stevie, tell me, try to make sense for this all to me. How are the Canucks doing this?
I wish I could. I really wish I could, but you can't explain a 12-shot win, and you can't explain what happened yesterday because that Canucks team looked lifeless. It looked dead in the water entering the final few minutes of that game, and they somehow miraculously make that comeback happen. Besser, good for him. I mean, he put the team on his back. They only had like one line rolling, I thought, for most of that game, Vancouver. I didn't think they had a really great effort from start to finish, but man, they didn't quit. You can't. You know what? The fight of the dog was there. You play this way though against an Edmonton, I don't like your chances at all. You need to get Demko back for sure as well. You don't want to look too forward, but you also want to appreciate what they're doing in the moment right now. And I think the Canucks deserve some applause that they've had to defy a lot of adversity early on here to get where they are. To be up 3-1, it definitely feels like you're playing with a little bit of house money, because I'm sure you as a Canucks fan, not even in your most positive outcomes, if you took the score away just to look at effort from those first 4 games, being up 3-1 is very generous.
Yeah, look, I want to give full credit to Rick Tocchet. Rick Tocchet came in to this franchise during a time where they were riding off the high of the Bruce There It Is and the Bruce Boudreau era, and then that kind of flamed out really quickly. Rick Tocchet comes in, and what does he do, Stevie? He rebuilds that defense core. You have Quinn Hughes. We know how great Quinn Hughes is. Before I get back to Rick Tocchet, I want to give Quinn Hughes his flowers. He's the smallest guy on that defense core. And if you watch the last 2 games in Nashville, the Predators have been attacking him and absolutely beating the living hell out of Quinn Hughes. We saw him get sandwiched. We saw him on the bench. He didn't come out for a couple of shifts, I think, in the first period. And he's just getting the absolute, tar beat out of him. But he keeps on going. He played his lowest minutes in the first 2 periods all season. What does he do? He comes out. He's getting absolutely hit every single chance. They're taking liberties on. He breaks Gus Nyquist's ankles, sets up the game-tying goal, proving you why he is the captain of the Vancouver Canucks, proving why he is the Norris Trophy winner, because he's the smallest guy out there. He's getting targeted every single shift, and he still keeps going out there. But back to Rick Tocchet. Builds that defense core around Quinn Hughes, and they're big. Nikita Zadorov has been the Canucks' best defenseman this series. Absolutely making big hits, scoring goals, bringing that confidence, bringing that swagger, bringing that energy that you need in the playoffs. Tyler Myers has been great as well, right? Philip Hronek has been solid. Ian Cole, once again, keeps the puck in and they score. Carson Soucy, they're a big defense core. They're tough and they know how to play structured hockey. JT Miller has been great as well. JT Miller is exactly the leader up front that the Canucks need, and full credit to Brock Besser as well. Brock Besser is a guy who, when he came in the league, everybody thought, oh my God, his shot is amazing. This is an all-world shot. Hurts his wrist, doesn't really come back, but he evolves his game. He's now scoring in the dirty areas like Zach Hyman, and also he's out there killing helping defend leads at the end of the game, right? That's how much trust Rick Tocchet has. Well, he's rebuilt this team and put structure into this organization has been the biggest key. You heard the report about him consoling Thatcher Demko after he was near in tears after he found out that he couldn't play for the rest of this series. Rick Tocchet has done so many good things for this team, and I believe if it wasn't for Rick Tocchet, you would not be seeing half the success you're seeing right now.
No, and it comes back to a point we talked about earlier, which is leadership, how important that is, especially come playoff time. You need those guys that you can turn to in those pivotal moments, and Vancouver really does seem to have that. Hughes I was honestly a little surprised that he was named the captain, but I'm not surprised anymore. He's really stepped up into that leadership role, and he's had to endure a lot. Nashville has played a very grimy playoff styled game. I mean, you just look at the McCarron hit on DeSmith and the way they've attacked Quinn Hughes. They're looking to try to bully them, but this Vancouver team has been relentless, and their defense honestly reminds me a lot of Vegas's defense, which, okay, you've got your skill guy, Vegas, that's Shea Theodore. On Vancouver, that's Quinn Hughes. But around him, you have a bunch of big, rangy guys who just clog up the offensive zone. I think their defense, maybe that was the inspiration for it. I think they kind of took a page out of Vegas's book. I really like what I've seen from that group because in the same token, Vancouver has made life easier on the backup goalies. Even in their loss in this series, they didn't even give up 20 shots in that game to Nashville. They've been very good defensively too, I think. And I think it's just a matter of getting the star guys acclimated to the postseason. This isn't something they're overly used to, and they're starting to come along. Besser yesterday plays the hero. Lindholm, a guy who was kind of scapegoated in Vancouver, comes up with a big goal. He's been really solid this series. I think he's proved his worth in the postseason.
Absolutely. So I think it ends in 5, but I wouldn't surprise you if it ends in 6. But let's go to a team that I think it's curtains for them. That's the Winnipeg Jets. They're done. They're cooked. We came on last week talking about that great performance in game 1 where they kind of outscored the Colorado Avalanche. Georgiev looked horrible. Stevie, it's done. The Winnipeg Jets, they're done. I don't know what it is. Connor Hellebuck can't seem to stop anything. They can't seem to defend. They're not scoring. The Winnipeg Jets are making Mark Scheifele's throwing stuff at the back of the coach. It's curtains for them.
Yeah, it's not good. It's not good. They're not playing their style, and they haven't been allowed to. Colorado has the puck the entire game. They're taking 40 shots a game on Connor Hellebuck. I don't even put all the blame on him, to be honest. He's under a barrage, and when you've got McKinnon's, Makar, Nichushkin, all just firing pucks from wherever they want, Rantanen firing pucks wherever they want, it's not good. And you saw the goal yesterday. Cale Makar goes from one end to the other, skates through the entire team. Like, what are you going to do? He's able to get to the top of the slot and he rips home a beautiful wrist shot. Hellebuck hasn't been as good as advertised and as good as he's been in the regular season, but it's not on him. When he's facing that volume of shots, I'm not going to blame him. The team is just getting outdone. Like they're just getting hemmed in their own zone. They hardly have the puck in this series. It's difficult. In the playoffs, you want to establish your style of hockey and play your type of game. And we know Winnipeg was low event, tight checking, win 3-1, 3-2, and get on out of there. Game 1, they snuck out a wild 7-6 win. But really, Colorado, their strategy has just been all-out attack. I don't like this long-term for Colorado because I don't think you can keep this up, this style that they're playing, which is this run and gun kind of, make sure that nothing gets through on Georgiev. It's just tough to play that style over and over and over again. But against a team like Winnipeg, which does have its offensive drawbacks, it's working.
Yeah.
So good for Colorado. They're going to win. They proved me wrong in the sense that they beat Winnipeg, but I still think they're fraudulent, and I will pick whoever wins that Dallas Vegas series. I'm going to stick with Dallas as my pick in that series, but I do think whoever wins that series beats Colorado. There's still some holes there. Georgiev's been good, but we know Forgiev is going to show up in no time or not, and it'll be trouble for them. So enjoy this, Avs fans, but don't get too excited.
Yeah, no, look, I think the Jets are what I said they were. They were a great story. They're not a great team, and their horses, their big guys, just can't really do much in the playoffs. And when you see Makar and McKinnon and Rantanen turn it up another level, there's no stopping them whatsoever. And you're seeing that on full display. Cale Makar was on fire yesterday. Let's finish off with the final Canadian team, the Edmonton Oilers. Stuart Skinner. Round of applause for Stuart Skinner. Was absolutely horrible in Edmonton the first 2 games. Turns it around in LA. And now the Oilers, they get out a gritty, grimy, defensive 1-0 victory against LA in game 4. Now they're up 3-1 in that series. This Oilers team, The power play is clicking. Draisaitl, McDavid are, of course, doing what they do, unlike the Leaf stars, elevating their game in the playoffs. Zach Hyman has done that. Evander Kane has been physical. You got a Gordie Howe hat trick. Corey Perry has been effective. Evan Bouchard. This Oilers team has been just as advertised. Now, the most important thing, Stevie, as you'll probably agree with, is not Stuart Skinner is shouldering some of the load as well.
Yeah, last night was all Stuart Skinner.
Mm-hmm.
The Kings, desperate, they threw a very hard punch in that first period, and Skinner kept them at bay. Edmonton was lucky that game wasn't 2-0 at the end of the first period, to be honest with you. Skinner holds them in, gets the barrage behind them, and then they came out and they didn't have their best offensively, but that power play has been so deadly. You can't take penalties against this Edmonton team. They will hurt you. And the Kings, they haven't looked good on the penalty kill. They swapped goalies to try to get a little bit of life, and you can't blame the effort from Riddick in that game. I mean, he gives up one goal on the power play. That's not on him. It's just this LA team kind of lost and missed its opportunity. That was the game to win. Edmonton, you finally had them playing your style, and in a low-scoring game. Those are the games LA is supposed to win if they want to win this series. But we've seen their star players underwhelm, especially I look at Pierre-Luc Dubois. He's been the subject of a lot of criticism, and rightfully so. This was their big offseason splash, and he has not lived up to the hype. And unfortunately for them, the three-headed monster, their four-headed monster they're kind of hoping for down the middle really hasn't materialized. You had Byfield take a step forward, but Kopitar slowing down a little bit. Deneau is what he is. He's not going to score for you, but he will keep the other team at bay. But again, it really came down to Pierre-Luc Dubois. Can he be that third-line pivot or second-line pivot who can score and also shut down? He hasn't been that.
You know how much ice time Pierre-Luc Dubois is averaging this series, Stevie? Take a guess.
Tell me. Okay, I'm going to guess.
14 minutes he's averaging this series.
Oh, my God.
That cap hit, that contract, and Pierre-Luc Dubois has one goal. That's his only point, and he's averaging 14 minutes of ice time. That's horrible.
That's not good.
And the LA Kings can't do much because they're stuck with that contract now because Rob Blake and them decided to give him that huge contract before he even played a game with the LA Kings. The LA Kings, the last couple of years, were a team that everybody thought, they got Kevin Fiala, Adrian Kempe, Quinton Byfield. They got some really nice pieces. They just got to shore up the goaltending, right? They got Philip Deneau. This team can really be. They were the sexy pick to win the Pacific. The last couple of years, right? And it just hasn't materialized. And now you're seeing they got some more problems, right? And I think, look, the Edmonton Oilers are a team that are rolling. They worry me if the Canucks play them in a second round series a lot. Stuart Skinner has played very well, but the LA Kings, there are some big, big problems, Stevie. And Drew Doughty's on his last wheels, I think, too. Like, I think he's had a great career, Hall of Fame career, but it's time now to just, they might have to retool once again to try to get that defense score back up to, because they invest so much in a guy in Pierre-Luc Dubois.
And sometimes to get back to Pierre-Luc Dubois, sometimes you got to kind of read the tea leaves with a guy like that. He'd been in, 2-3 different organizations beforehand. And hey, the guys working next to him, the front offices that got to see him up close and personal said, yeah, we can ship this guy off, or we don't want this guy. So sometimes you have to read the tea leaves. Like, if a guy's bouncing around a lot of different rosters, that's got to be a red flag. That's got to tell you something about this guy that maybe you don't know. Maybe it's not all as what it seems on the ice. There's sometimes when you're kind of sitting wondering, why is this third overall pick having such a tough time finding a team to stick around with? Maybe there's stuff going on that, the extra pieces of the puzzle we don't even know about explaining that. So if you see a guy like that, sometimes it's best to just steer clear, because there's oftentimes or sometimes instances where, hey, it's not all that meets the eye. There's stuff going on behind the scenes here. If the teams working closest with him aren't having any issues shipping off a third overall pick.
Absolutely. Now let's finish off quickly, Stevie. 2 games on the slate tonight. The Dallas Stars look to even up their series in Vegas, and the Tampa Bay Lightning look to stay alive in Game 5 against the Florida Panthers. So who do you got?
Tonight, I'm going with Dallas to even up the series. Wyatt Johnson made his entrance in the series, kind of arrived in game 3, scored a couple big goals, including the overtime winner. I think Dallas gets the win at minus 113. And then Tampa Bay, Florida. This has been a close, tight checking series. And it's 3-1 Florida, but it could just as easily be 2-2 or even 3-1 for Tampa Bay. I'm going to pick the Bolts to win or tie at minus 110. The Sergachev emotional boost was a big factor on Saturday. And I expect that to carry over into tonight's game as well.
Perfect, Stevie. Sounds good. I appreciate it. And we'll chat with you on Wednesday, my friend.
Yeah, thanks for having me.